The Pyramid for Living with People, a survival guide for shared spaces. Introduction: why this matters. Living with people ain't easy, especially not when the people come from broken systems, backdoors, and bruised dignity. Especially not when you've been both, the one giving the key and the one needing it. This book wasn't born in a classroom. It was born in a house. My house. Since 2007, 21 people have passed through my front door at 414 W Ridgeway in Flint, Sankofa House. Some were family. Some were strangers. Some were returning citizens fresh from the belly of the prison system. Some were transient youth caught between couches. Some were disabled veterans. Some were single mothers with babies in tow. Some stayed 2 nights. Some stayed 8 months. But each one came through, and each one left a lesson. And truth be told, I've been on the other side too. I've slept on living room floors from New York to Ohio, spare rooms from California to Utah, crashing with friends, dodging tension, trying not to overstay, overstep, or come undone. That's why I built this. The Pyramid for Living with People is not a self-help framework. It's a survival code, written in grit and tested through couches, halfway houses, mission trips, and grief. It's for the ones who've had to keep their shoes at the door just in case they had to leave fast. For the ones who've watched the welcome wear off before their feet got warm. For the ones who carry their entire life in a bag but still want to walk in with honor. This book is for you. Understanding the Pyramid. This isn't theory. This is floorboard gospel, written between the couch and the front door, between you can stay and how long you staying. I didn't come up with the pyramid in a think tank. I came up with it after watching the 5th man in a year leave my house mad because I asked him to wash the dishes he used. After hearing, you got a good heart, but you let people use you. After being the one curled up on somebody else's floor, stomach growling, trying not to flush the toilet too loud after 10 p.m. That's when I realized love opens the door, but structure keeps it from slamming shut. I need a way to protect the space, protect the relationship, protect me. And more importantly, I needed to teach others how to do the same. The Sankofa House Blueprint. This pyramid was carved through years of living it. Through the 21 names that passed through my house in Flint, through brothers fresh from prison and kids fresh out the system, through people I barely knew, and some I knew too well, through giving the last roll of toilet paper to a man who didn't even say thank you, through watching someone leave and steal my spare charger on the way out. It's not about bitterness, it's about blueprint. I've seen what works, and I've seen what cracks the foundation. This guide is that foundation, so you don't have to build it from scratch. The structure. The base is the foundation. 3 vertical columns: respect, help, ghost. Each one holds its weight. Each one must stand. If any of them fall, the house falls with it. The middle holds the bond. 2 vertical columns: my mother, what matters most to your host, and your plan, where you're headed. Together, they expose the truth of the situation, why you're here, and if you're even trying to leave. The top is the peak, small, sharp, and sacred. It's WIFM, what's in it for me, because every host has a need, even if it's buried, hidden, or never said aloud. And if you ignore it, everything sours fast. Why a pyramid? Because survival has structure. Because you can't live in somebody's space without balance. Because if you try to build from the top down, it collapses. Because structure isn't control, it's sustainability. This pyramid isn't just something you live under, it's something you live by. Respect. Read the room. Follow the tone. Some houses are loud, some are quiet, some are spotless, some are functional chaos, some are rooted in prayer, some are soaked in trauma, some are anchored by gospel hymns, others by weed smoke and worn down peace. But every house has a rhythm. And when you step into someone else's rhythm, you either blend in or you wreck the whole groove. The real story number 1, volume over vision. One of the young men who came through Sankofa House was just out of lockup. Good energy, good stories. No indoor voice. Every conversation was a monologue, music loud, FaceTime on speaker. He'd walk in the door yelling, "Nah, bro, I told him." One day, I had just finished praying with a grieving neighbor in the next room when he came in hollering about who owed him money. I said his name, twice. Then I looked him in the face and said, This house is a place of peace. If your volume is louder than your vision, you're not ready to be here. It wasn't anger, it was correction. Because if you can't read the room, you're not ready to rest inside it. The real story number 2, the pastor's house. I once stayed with a preacher and his wife after a season of burnout and collapse. Their home was orderly, warm, slow, the kind of space where even the couch felt like it had been prayed over. First night, I opened the fridge, moved a few things around looking for a snack, and cracked a soda. Later that night, the wife gently said, "When you're in a house like this, it's always better to ask." It stung, but she wasn't wrong. I had walked into someone else's rhythm with my own hunger and no awareness. The reflection. Respect ain't about rules, it's about awareness. You don't bring hard knocks into soft places. You don't show up as a storm in someone else's sanctuary. You don't assume your way is the way. You read, you adjust, you align. This ain't tone policing, it's survival etiquette. The application. If they pray before meals, don't start eating first. If they say, "Good morning," say it back. If the house winds down at 9, don't turn up at 10. If the family speaks in soft tones, leave your shouting at the door. If it's a clean house, match the standard. If it's a tense house, don't bring more heat. Respect isn't about agreement, it's about alignment. You're not there to lead. You're there to listen to the tempo and move in time. Help. Be useful or be gone. The principle. You might not be able to pay rent, but you better be paying attention. Because every house has a weight, and if you don't lift, you become the burden. Nobody's mad that you're down bad. What gets people hot is when you sit around like they owe you a bed, a plate, and peace. Help ain't charity, it's rent in a different form. If you ain't paying in cash, you better be paying in care. The real story number 1. Damn, it's hot out. There was a brother who stayed with me after coming out of Jackson prison. He said all the right things. I'm grateful, I'm focused, I'm ready to start fresh. By the end of the first week, he was sleeping late, leaving bowls in the sink like they were trophies. Asking, "You got anything to eat?" Like I was DoorDash. One day, I was pulling groceries out the car, bags in both arms, sweat dripping, and he was sitting on the porch scrolling his phone. Didn't blink, didn't move, just said, "Damn, it's hot out." That's when I knew he was gone by Friday. Because if you can watch your host work without moving an inch, you don't need a place to stay, you need a lesson. The real story number 2, Mr. Otis and the mop. I once lived in a halfway house with 3 other men, each of us fresh out the gate. The rule was simple: don't cause problems. There was one quiet brother who did nothing. Never took out the trash, never wiped the table, never bought soap, but always found time to hit the liquor store on payday. When we brought it up, he said, "I'm just trying to get on my feet." That's when Mr. Otis, the house manager, who'd done 17 years, pulled him aside and said, "Boy, I did time with killers who kept the floors clean. I've seen more dignity in a mop than in half the men walking free. Don't let freedom make you useless." That line stayed with me. The reflection. Help ain't about heroism. It's about contribution. It's about making your presence a blessing, not a burden. When people say make yourself at home, they don't mean eat their food and leave your socks on the floor. They mean add peace, add value, add effort. If you don't, they'll add your name to the list of folks they won't open the door for again. The application. Take out the trash before it stinks. Don't just wash your plate. Clean the sink. If someone's cooking, offer to prep or clean. If groceries come in, grab a bag. If they have kids, play with them so mama can breathe. If the car's dusty, wipe it down. If you're jobless, be useful. If you use the last roll, replace it. If you flush the last of the piece, you won't be invited back. Dead weight gets dropped. Useful people get carried. Pick which one you want to be. Ghost, manage your footprint. The principle. Be present, but don't leave a trail. Be grateful, but don't be loud with it. Be there, but don't take over. If they know where you've been just by the stuff you've left behind, your shoes, your smell, your crumbs, your moods, you're doing too much. A good guest is like a ghost, helpful, clean, light, and barely there. The real story number 1, the foster kid and the ghost that failed. I opened my home to a young brother just out of foster care. Came in with a trash bag and too much hope to hold. No job, no ID, no backup plan. First 2 days, quiet, watchful, respectful. By day 4, his hoodie was draped over the dining chair. PlayStation cords ran across the living room. Shower running for 40 minutes like water was free. His deodorant cap sat on the bathroom counter. Again, he wasn't trying to disrespect. But that's the thing. Disrespect don't need intention. It just needs presence that overstays its welcome. He became visible in all the wrong ways, and when visibility turns into friction, your exit has already begun. The real story number 2, my bag in her hallway. Years ago, I was staying in the back room of a single mother's house. 2 kids, full-time job, barely enough patience to offer the space. I came home late one night, tired, and dropped my duffel by the hallway. Next morning, her youngest came back and said, "Mom said don't leave your bag in the hallway." She almost tripped. That moment checked me. I ran through the list in my head. Bag in the hallway, shoes near the stairs, charger in the kitchen, soap in the bathroom, my voice in the air. I had spread out more than I earned, not with disrespect, but with entitlement. And in a space I didn't pay for, that's a fast track to a cold shoulder. The reflection. Footprint means impact, not just what you leave behind physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Your host shouldn't be tripping over your presence, literally or emotionally, and they definitely shouldn't feel like their house has been colonized by your vibe if they start moving quieter, pulling away, sighing when they see your things. You're not a guest anymore. You're a disruption. The application. Keep your stuff in your zone. Don't let your charger snake across shared space. Don't leave your toothbrush on the bathroom counter like it's yours. Replace anything you use before they notice it's gone. Don't take up the kitchen for an hour unless you're cooking for everybody. Don't FaceTime in the living room on speaker like you're in your own apartment. And if they had an air freshener before you got there, you better replace it before they have to. Ghosts don't haunt. They honor. They don't linger. They lighten. Be the kind of presence that makes the space feel bigger, not heavier. Be a ghost they thank God for, not one they sage the room to forget. My mother, respect what's sacred. The principle. In every house, there is something sacred. And in the kinds of homes we come from, Black, immigrant, refugee, street-scarred, faith-rooted, that sacred thing is non-negotiable. It might be a photo on the wall, an urn on a shelf, a prayer before meals, a silence on Sundays, a child with autism, a framed image of Malcolm, a mother who still runs the room with her spirit. This ain't just about biological moms. This is about whatever the host protects, honors, reveres, or refuses to let the world handle roughly. And if you step on that, if you crack a joke, roll your eyes, or run your mouth sideways, you're not just disrespecting the house, you're desecrating the altar. The real story number 1, watch your mouth. A young man stayed with me, fresh out of a group home, hungry for freedom, heavy with opinions. He made comments about people praying before meals, scoffed when my cousin brought over her child with autism, talked slick about gospel music echoing on Sunday. One day, I stepped into the kitchen to take a call from my mother. When I came back, he said, "You talk to her every day? You a grown man." I turned slow and said, "That woman prayed me out of situations you ain't even survived yet." Mind your tongue. The air in the house changed that day, not because I raised my voice, but because he disrespected the root. The real story number 2. Don't talk about Malcolm. I was staying with a brother who had done 12 years in the feds. Clean now, working steady. Let me crash on the pull-out couch. One day, I made a passing joke about something on TV, something involving Malcolm X. He paused the show, looked dead at me, and said, "You can clown on anything else in this house, but don't talk slick about Malcolm. That man saved my life." He had a photo of Malcolm above the bookshelf, like it was a family portrait. To him, it was. That's when I learned. Sacred is whatever they say it is. And when you're a guest, you don't test the altar. You adjust your behavior to it. The reflection. Disrespect doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it whispers through sarcasm, slides in with jokes, hides behind "I was just saying." But your right to speak does not outweigh their right to peace, especially in their home, especially in their sanctuary. You don't walk into someone's sacred and redecorate it with your opinions. You walk softly. You observe. You honor. The application. If they ask you not to curse around their mother, don't curse around their mother. If they have a memorial table, don't sit your drink on it. If they fast for spiritual reasons, don't fry bacon at 7 a.m. If they have a child with special needs, don't critique what you don't carry. If their grandmother's quilt is on the couch, don't toss it on the floor like a gym towel. If they say, we don't do politics at the table, leave your debate for Twitter. Respect isn't about believing what they believe. It's about not bruising what they hold sacred. In a world that's already torn so much from us, let a man have his mother, his picture, his prayer, his peace. Your plan. Know where you're going. The principle. A plan is not a prayer. It's not God gone work it out. It's not a vibe. It's not we'll see what happens. A plan is steps, movement, proof that you're not just surviving, you're trying to rise. When you're staying in someone else's house, a cousin's back room, an old cellmate's couch, a pastor's guest bed, you don't just owe gratitude. You owe momentum. People will carry you through the storm, but they won't drag you through indecision. The real story number 1, the long month. One of the sharpest brothers I know stayed with me after losing everything. He said, I just need a month to get things in order. I said yes, believed him. Week 1, slept late. Week 2, out all day doing some things. Week 3, complained about how hard it is to find work in this economy. Week 4, still on the couch, still scrolling, still saying, I'm trying. He didn't have a plan. He had a hope. And a hope with no structure is a hallucination. When I asked him where things stood, he got defensive. Told me, you act like I ain't doing nothing. I wasn't mad. I was tired, because when I'm trying becomes a shield, you make your host carry your stall out like it's love. The real story 2, the teenager's question. I once stayed with a married couple after coming back from an overseas missions trip. Tired, disoriented, broke. Their daughter was 16. Brilliant. Quiet. Watched everything. One day I was scrolling on the couch, job boards open, but mostly just passing time. She walked by and asked, you looking for jobs or just looking busy? Not rude, not slick, just true. She didn't see a grown man. She saw a grown presence in her house with no visible movement. That question shook me deeper than any eviction ever could. The reflection. People will give you time, space, food, and grace. But if they don't see you moving, they'll start pulling back silently. Peacefully. Completely. A plan tells your host, I'm not staying. I'm building. It says, I don't need saving. I need space to climb. And if you can't articulate that, you'll become a permanent maybe. And nobody makes room for a maybe. The application. Set a 7-day check-in with yourself. Give your host a 30-day update. List your real goals. Job applications, ID replacement, housing search, legal steps. Don't wait for them to ask. Offer the update. Keep receipts, literal or digital. Don't say I'm trying if all you've done is sit, because if you're in the same place 2 weeks from now, you either need a new plan or a new place. Bottom line, no one is obligated to support your stagnation. People want to see you win, but they won't carry you through your own standstill. You can't just figure it out forever. Make a plan. Move with it. Share it. Show it. If not for them, then for yourself. Because staying still too long starts to smell like comfort, and comfort becomes decay. WIFM, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? The principle. Nobody does anything for nothing. Not really. Even the most generous host, the auntie who says, stay as long as you need. The brother who gives you his only key. The older woman who says, God told me to help you, is asking something, even if they don't speak it. That something might be peace, company, labor, gratitude, respect, sex, control, praise. A story they get to tell about themselves being good. But it's there. And if you don't read the room, acknowledge the need, or honor the unspoken contract, you will wear out your welcome faster than the air can shift. The real story number 1, the brother who put me on. I stayed with a man I'd known for years. Used to run in the same circles. He'd gotten his life together. Good job, decent spot, structure. He said, "You can crash here for a while. I got you." I thought it was love. But over time, the vibe shifted. He'd say things like, "Not too many people I'd let do this." Or, "Just remember who gave you a place when nobody else did." That's when I realized this wasn't just a gift. This was a trade. He gave me shelter. I gave him significance. He felt like the man for having helped me. And when I didn't affirm that enough, his patience evaporated. The real story, too. The church lady with a plan. There was a woman who let me stay in her home after a rough chapter. Older, kind, active in ministry, told people I was her assignment. I respected her, honored the space. But around week 5, things shifted. The compliments got weird. The glances got longer. She started calling me son less and just saying, "You know what women like, and you're not a boy." She never crossed a line, but the implication was thick in the air. That's when I realized even spiritual help can have unspoken expectations. And if you're not alert, you'll end up paying a debt you never agreed to. The reflection. WIFM is not about cynicism. It's about clarity. Everybody has a reason for saying yes. And when you ignore that reason, when you pretend the exchange is pure and one-sided, you turn their quiet need into loud resentment. And that resentment, it will show up in tone, in silence, in tension, in side comments, in missing groceries, in doors that don't open again. The application. Study your host. Why did they open this space? What gap are you filling? Acknowledge the trade. Don't pretend they need nothing from you. If they're stressed, offer peace. If they're lonely, offer presence. If they want credit, give it sincerely. If they're starting to control the narrative, either negotiate it or leave. And most of all, don't act like nothing's being exchanged just because no money changed hands. If you're too broke to contribute financially, contribute emotionally, relationally, practically, spiritually. And if you can't or won't, leave before the energy turns sour. Because what's in it for me is always being asked. And when that question goes unanswered, it becomes a whisper that says, "They used me. They didn't even see me. They just took." Once that whisper starts, your time is almost up. Where this applies, the principle. This ain't for folks with backup plans and guest rooms. This is for us, the ones who've stayed on stained couches, thin mattresses, borrowed grace. This pyramid applies wherever survival meets generosity. Wherever your name ain't on the lease, but your presence shifts the air. Wherever you walk in needing rest and the room silently asks if you'll leave it better than you found it. Family houses. Family doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes it means long memory and short patience. If you're in your cousin's basement or your auntie's back room, know this: love doesn't cancel boundaries. They might love you deeply, but leave your shoes in their hallway again, and you'll find out how quickly that love changes temperature. Shared apartments, roommates. You may split rent, but if the couch is theirs and your name ain't on the door, you don't have 50-50 rights. Be respectful, be helpful, be rarely noticed. You're not there to dominate the space. You're there to stabilize. Trap houses, survival homes. Let's tell the truth. Some of us had to stay in places where nothing felt stable. Dope spots, cousin and them's trap, a stranger's floor because you had nowhere else to land. Even there, don't bring extra heat. Don't steal peace. Don't make your problem someone else's risk. Street hospitality is real, but it's fragile, and it comes with its own code. Transitional housing, reentry programs. If you're in a halfway house, sober home, or reentry placement, you represent more than yourself. Your behavior reflects on every brother who comes after you. Don't make them stop taking people like you. Be the reason they keep the door open for the next man. Airbnb, short-term rentals. Even when you pay, you leave a footprint and your name still follows. Clean up like it's your reputation, because it is. Leave the place better than you found it, and you won't just be welcomed back. You'll be remembered with ease. The reflection. The pyramid applies wherever grace is offered in exchange for behavior, wherever space is sacred and time is limited. You don't need luxury. You need legacy. And legacy is how people tell the story of your presence after you leave. Final word. Don't leave a bad taste behind. They may not remember your name, but they'll remember your impact. How you handled the bathroom, how you left the kitchen, how you honored their peace, how you showed up. Your presence is a fingerprint. It either blesses the door or locks it behind you. This pyramid ain't about being liked. It's about being welcomed again. Because in this world, especially our world, you may not get many chances. Don't waste one by mistaking comfort for permission. Pass it on. I didn't write this from a mansion. I wrote it from lived places, from a fold-out couch in Utah, from a spare room in Oakland, from a floor in Dayton, from Sankofa House in Flint, Michigan, where 21 souls passed through my doors. Some I invited. Some showed up. All of them taught me that the difference between sanctuary and stress is how people carry themselves in shared space. So if this guide speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Give it to the young brother who just came home. Share it with the sister trying to hold her household together. Teach it in the halfway house. Read it in the shelter. Preach it in the barbershop. Post it in the corner store. Slide it under the door for the one who just moved in. Let this be a gospel of good presence. A survival code passed mouth to ear, heart to hand. Because when all else fails, when the money's gone, the job falls through, the love dries up. How you live with people may be the difference between locked doors and open arms. Would you like me to now compile everything into a fully formatted Word document with title page, section breaks, and optional visual placeholders?